Welcome to Season 3 of the Knack for Business podcast. Over 350 episodes strong, we're here to ignite your entrepreneurial spirit with fresh insights, networking gems, and creative strategies that elevate your game.
So, from the audience perspective, how do you make your business unforgettable in a sea of competition? How do you make your business unforgettable in a sea of competition? We sit down with Alissa Bickar, founder of The Consultants, to uncover the secret behind transforming business development through the power of authentic storytelling. If you're struggling to break through the noise and make your brand truly memorable, you won't want to miss this conversation. Learn how personal stories not only captivate clients, but also build lasting trust and loyalty. Let's talk a bit more about Alissa. She's a seasoned business consultant with over 20 years of experience in entrepreneurship, finance, and coaching. She partners with professionals and producers to build and grow their book of business through innovative strategies and personalized support. By combining practical business development initiatives with a whole person approach, Alissa empowers her clients to rise above the noise of competition in the marketplace by amplifying their unique strengths to achieve their next level goals and aspirations. Alissa, welcome. It's good to have you here today. Do you have a favorite quote or saying you want to share with us?
You are the average of the 5 people you hang out with. And I love that I'm constantly in evolution and upgrading that. So I'm really appreciative to be here with you today. I will echo that I probably will break out in song and dance while we're talking. If that's all right with you, let them roll.
If one of us at this end of the spectrum breaks out in song and dance, we've lost the show. There's no control left on our end. Do you have a business tagline?
I love to help people integrate the being in business with what they do. So you don't just become that trite. My tagline is integrating business and personal so you can be more of who you're meant to be.
I love that. That's perfect. What helped you migrate from, hey, this is traditional business development to, let me tell you a story? What brought that about? What was the epiphany?
When I first started out as a coach, everybody would ask, what do you do? And I would say, well, I can help with marketing, or I can help with business development, or I can help with, and I had all of these skill sets. But when you say, this is what I do, people's brains gloss over. They just go to the last person they heard, or maybe they have a cousin, uncle, or a brother. They stop listening to you at that point. I noticed this in my coaching journey. I also noticed it when I was in financial services. Producers that are out there being financial advisors, I'm a financial advisor. I just noticed this repetition of like, oh, I already know someone, and the inquiry gets shut off. So I started to wonder if there was perhaps a better way to create curiosity and connection before someone was sidelined and placed into a bucket based on a title or a tag.
So how do you show people your rocky road in an ocean of vanilla?
Well, I think that is really pertinent, what you just said about rocky road. Most people like to cover up what's tough and look like they've got it all figured out. So in my personal journey, talking about becoming a coach and a mentor, I had to let people know that I needed those folks on my team too. That there's been part of my journey where I've needed to listen to people who've walked the road before me, who've created the path that I'm looking to travel. You know, I think your question is, in a sea of vanilla, hi, my name is, this is what I do. You have to create some kind of memorable moment. And for me, when you said Alissa likes to sing and dance and have fun, I'm like, that's my cue. Because when I meet people, whether it's virtual or in person, having a point of personal connection first. Hey, what do you do? I am an extremely curious person. What about you? And creating a dialogue rather than answering a question always helps, because our number one most favorite subject to talk about is ourselves. So if someone asks you, what do? You can turn that around and say, I'm just a really curious person. I'm really curious about you. Tell me how you got here, and ask an open-ended question, because they're not really asking for your title. They're really asking, I don't know what to say. So that's your opportunity to open the door.
The level of, it's not just words. I got that from, as you were talking about it a second ago, it's the emotive expression. If you listen to the podcast now, you can't see it. You might gauge it, but if you're watching the video of this, you will be able to gauge it. You can see your physical expression at the same time. So the art of this telling the story about what you do or engaging the other person, asking them what they do, like, tell me about yourself. You wrap up some emotions in there, you wrap up some body language in there. Is that part and parcel of the storytelling?
What I really find people are wanting when they want to differentiate is they want to be the smartest, or they want to be the one that stands out the most. Traditional industrial age thinking has us behaving like question response, question response. It's an opportunity to disrupt a pattern. If it doesn't get disrupted, things will continue on as assumed. And so that's the opportunity. If we're not continuing on as assumed, that's the opportunity for connection. Yes, storytelling is in there. What you're looking to do is create a point of connection, a point of symmetry, a point of alignment to see if there's reason to take this conversation to the next sentence, to the next level. When I'm talking about what I do, it depends on what room I'm in. Having a suite of things that you'll say. For example, one of my interrupters is, "Hi, what do you do?" Depends on what day you catch me. Is today Cape Day? And, that was like, "Well, what do you mean?" I'm like, "Well, the consultress, it comes with the bow because it's part graceful and part grit. It is tactical as well as emotional and interpersonal." And it opens the door for me to say, "Well, how'd you get there?" When I started my coaching practice, I was trying to be all the personal support with none of the grit. Then I had an iteration because I felt that people weren't really hearing my message, where I was all grit and no heart. Somewhere in the middle, this grace emerged that people need both. So it is my passion and my life story. I've come through this transformation, and that's what I help people do, to really put what they're doing in business right next to and aligned with who they are and what they are about, so they can become more passionate, more successful. And so if you heard in there, I told you a little bit about the bumps I had in the road, my rocky road in that sea of vanilla. And I was able to talk about my personal growth. So I am practicing what I preach. If you're practicing what you preach, that is the most valuable thing people want to know. They don't care if you're super good at it if you don't take your own advice. That, I think, is the heart of connection. I do what I do because I've experienced it, or because I've got all of these experiences that sum up to how I provide this transformation. And that's really what people want to hear. It's not what you do, it's can I trust you, that they're really asking.
I'm really interested in a role model of yours.
A role model. Wow. I've had so many over the course of my career. I think it started with my dad. He came over from Italy when he was 8 and saw that there was an opportunity to build a new way of living for himself and for his family. So he was the rags to riches kind of story, worked through high school, started his own business and never looked back, continued to open businesses, buy real estate, also created community. Everywhere he went, this man had a huge heart and everyone knew it because he wasn't afraid to show it. And that was the first thing that I didn't know was my baseline until much later in life. But people will forget what you said and forget what you meant. They will only remember how you made them feel. I know I'm paraphrasing Maya Angelou right now, but truly how you make people feel is what inspires people through that know, like, and trust funnel to be able to do business with you. So Dad was my first and most formative mentor, taught me how to be in this world in a generous, loving way. My second mentor that made a huge impact when I was in financial services was Mark Sieben. He was a lacrosse coach, a financial services wealth management mentor and boss, but also a friend. And he always took those three components together and said, I am a coach and a mentor and a friend. I want to be involved in the whole scope of what my advisors are experiencing, of what my team needs, of what my family is about. And he taught me something really valuable. He said, Alissa, always run towards something. Don't run away. Because if you're running away, you're always going to find more of the thing that you're trying to avoid. So that ran me smack dab into Jack Canfield, who taught me how to become a human potential trainer, completely revolutionized my life because I started to live the work of personal transformation through the lens of business. So these are three very important mentors that have altered my personality and my trajectory for the better.
Tell me about the elements of how you help a customer identify what's real in their story? How do you get them to boil down what's key to their story?
That is a work of art, my friend. Essentially, what I've created is a framework to help people step through that process from comfort to confrontation and into clarity. It's called the SIMPLE method, and it's an acronym that stands for strategy, implementation, metrics on the doing side of business, and then partnership, leadership, and empowerment on the being side. We start our diagnostic with, what do you do, right? We start with, what's your strategy? How are you going about this in business? We talk about their strategy. How are you going about doing that? Tell me who you're helping, how you're serving, and what are your deliverables? How are you implementing? And then the conversation moves to, that's really great. Well, how are you measuring that? How is that working for you? Bringing them into more of that confrontation of what's working, what's not working. Who do I have on my team, or maybe who do I need on my team? And that's where we start to tip over from metrics into partnerships, because we are the average of the 5 people we spend the most time with. Who do you need? Because business is not a solo mission. You can be a solopreneur, but if you don't have customers to serve and people to help you implement and accelerate, you just have a hobby. So who are those people and how do you identify those partnerships? Now we're in the thick of the diagnostic where they're feeling very comfortable because we're having this dialogue and paying attention to where they were confident first and how they built all this stuff already. Okay, great. So you have the lay of the land, the tactical lay of the land, and now the interpersonal lay of the land. How are you showing up as a leader? What is it that's important to you that gets expressed through your business to these people, through these implementations, and get down to the heart of why they're there? How are they growing? How is this business informing their life? And we start to hit some of the not so comfortable parts of growth. That's looking at maybe what's not serving anymore, the identity that might need to shift now. And so we've told ourselves a story. I'm a financial advisor. I've been in business forever. I know stocks like the back of my hand. And you get to have this experience of yourself that says, well, what if I were to be 5% better in my leadership? What would that look like? And so this is where the inquiry really starts to hit the ground for folks is, wait, this business says something about me. What do I want it to say? And so we get into those partnerships, and how you show up as a leader really empowers not only you as an individual, but your clients, your communities, your family at large. Who gets to be empowered? What are all those ripples? And so now we're really only at the start point. We've gone through the first round through the diagnostic, and now they're thinking, what really matters to the people that I empower? So is it the fact that I've been in business for 14 years, or is it the fact that I funded my kids' college education through that rental property that I bought? Is that really meaningful to the people that I serve? So this is where we are in that creative zone of what's emerging is important. Where are their true passions? Where are their true victories in their career story? How do we put the things that are the giant rocks? How do we put those in the bucket first so that we can go back now to strategy and help them innovate and create that next 10x leap that gets them super clear, committed, and really confident, because it's all the good stuff. And we start stripping away and letting go of what doesn't serve them, their habits of how they speak about themselves. Bringing someone through this journey of clarity is as much a what works for other people as what works for me. Because oftentimes I find that as entrepreneurs, we are the last thing to the table that says, how does this influence me? I am taking care of everyone else. But if the reason why you're taking care of everyone else is because you matter and because you want to make an impact, that gets to be at the forefront. By the way, that's the thing that brings your business to that next level of evolution, because you have a very clear guideline now. What is noise and what is meaningful? So now you can drive your story from this place of meaning and purpose versus habit and marketplace commoditization. It's what everybody else says. All the financial advisors, they say this thing. All the real estate investors, they say this thing. Not you, though. Because if you talk about you and you're willing to talk about your rocky road in that sea of vanilla, then you are more magnetized for people to say, oh, I know you and I don't even know you. Let's learn more together. Does that answer your question? Because I know I went real deep down the trail here.
But it was a very entertaining trail. Tell me about obstacles that business owners face subconsciously before They learn what it is you help them.
Okay. So the obstacles they think they're having are thwarted growth. I'm not growing as fast as I want. I feel like I don't have the bandwidth. I need to hire more people. My marketing needs to be clarified. I'm not getting as many leads as I wish. That's the problem they think they're having. And quite frankly, it is the problem in the logistical doing side of the business. Those are the manifestations of the lack of clarity we're talking about. It is the opportunity, the flag that points in that says you have something more to discover here. And maybe it is your marketing, maybe it is your lead gen, maybe it is your systems, or that you need to hire more people. And it's pointing to something where what got you here will keep you here if you're not careful. The simple methodology becomes a wash, rinse, repeat upward spiral of reflection and implementation. Reflection without implementation is just wishing, bringing people into that sense of what really is the obstacle? What is the problem here? I'm hitting my head against this wall over and over again, and I feel like I'm not making any progress. What did Einstein say? You can't solve problems from the same level of thinking that created them. We are creating a new inquiry to look at these problems from a different vantage point, from a different perspective. And what I find that obstacle actually, truly, really is their identity. We believe ourselves to be entrepreneurs, owner operators, salespeople, and business development professionals. It's all part of our identity set. When we start to ask some of these questions in the PLE area, we start to look at what does not work. This is the courageous part about iterating and pivoting as an entrepreneur. We constantly have to sacrifice our illusion of certainty to understand if it is still useful. And by doing so, we have to kill our darlings, get rid of some of the projects we were really excited about and committed to that upon review, maybe I learned something different than I was planning to. Assessing the identity and making a conscious choice as to what you are for, what does get to move forward, also will reveal that which you must let go of in order to evolve. You can't swim to the surface if you got a boulder attached to your butt. You have to let it go. Letting go of that identity that I have to work so hard or have a million people or work myself to the bone to be profitable. Maybe some of those things are true, but maybe they're not. Being willing and courageous enough to ask those questions, find out what's the truth, maybe seek out some mentorship, and then put into place like, okay, well, if that's not me, who am I? We both empty the container as well as fill the cup in this inquiry so that people can find their true self and their true path. And then reinform that strategy. Go back in and say, oh, okay, so if I'm not a workaholic, and I love to spend time with my family and make a lot of money, that's cool. Maybe I need to get in some new beliefs. Maybe I have to empower myself by seeing someone else who's done it this way that I haven't yet been exposed to. And that's where the growth happens. When you commit to the uncomfortable and you're willing to let go of the things that you hold on to tightly, that's the obstacle they are transcending in this journey.
Do you speak another language?
I speak Italian and music.
That's cool. Actually, kudos, because being multilingual helps being dynamic. I understand. My French and German have made me dance. Where I'm going with this question, though, is if someone is, even if they're speaking English, but they come across, how do I best put this in kind words? They just don't deliver well. It's just, the cadence, it's like, going through something going, this is going to be painful if it's longer than a minute to listen to, regardless what you're going to say. Unless, of course, you're Robin Williams and you're doing some other sort of a song and dance in behind it. How do you take the person who has a good story, just can't deliver it? How do you get them past that? Okay, we're going to have to reshape this. Got to put some makeup on this moment.
It's a dynamic skill set. Getting them into what really matters for them and not the things they've been told they have to be or the stuff that they've been told they have to do. Really, it's just the awareness of what is meaningful that does shape that storytelling. I had a client who was a real estate developer, and he was trying to get his new project funded and filled, leased up. It was eco-friendly and LEED certified for best non-carbon footprint building there was. And he's just trying to get it filled. He's like, I just keep going out there and having conversations with companies like, here's the space. Don't you want to lease up here? And he's like, I'm not getting any tenants. I don't know what's the problem. I walked him through a series of scenarios, just again, conversationally asking questions and having him come back and forth with me. So would it matter to you if it was a holistic dentist that was here? Oh, that'd be great. Would it matter to you if it was a shell company that was trading penny stocks for little old ladies and swindling them out of their last livelihood? Oh, no, he said. Okay. So now you know you have a preference. You don't have a preference. You're just looking to lease the place up. Now you know that you do have a preference. So now tell me, because now you know what you don't want. Now let's focus in who would care about being a tenant in a LEED certified green building that had natural airflows. What type of corporate culture do you want to invite to this space? Now that he was over the hump of like, nobody's doing this, into, oh, I have to speak the right language. I have to identify what's important and then say those things. When you know who you're serving, when you know what you're building for, whether that's your deliverable service or your actual physical building, then you can speak the language of the people who need what you have. When you get down to that connection point of what need am I filling and who am I filling it for because they also care about this thing, when you get to the connection, the natural storytelling will flow from there. It's not this huge skill set that you need. I'm not a storyteller. I gotta go get a course and a coach, and maybe you do.
You need a coach. You need one of us.
But the awareness is the thing that leads to that. It doesn't happen without it. You can go get all the courses in the world. If you don't have the awareness of what it's for, what its purpose is, you're just wasting your money and your time and your breath.
One thing, I believe storytelling is in fact the answer, but I'm interested in your take on how you earn the right. How do you get them to let me tell you a story? And I think you're good at it. So fill me in.
How do you allow someone to let you tell them a story? I think it's just conversation. So often in business, we come to these and then cross our arms and nod our heads and put on our best frown and our monocles, right? That's a defensive posture. That means something you've already done is piss them off or put them on their heels because they feel like they're about to be sold. So having this conversation approach, feeling like, hey, I'm learning about you. If you want to learn about me, that's great. You have to detach yourself from the agenda. You really have to get yourself to a place where you're not attached to the outcome, because people can feel it, whether or not like you're meaning to convey that you're looking for clients. If you feel like, if you enter the situation as if, okay, I'm going to do my best, I'm going to tell my stories, and then they're going to hire me, you've already set yourself up for failure because of the approach. So now I'm meeting someone new, I'm going to have a conversation, and if there's synergy, then we'll take the next step. If you can approach your storytelling and your communications in conversation with people from that place, the sales process will take care of itself effortlessly. When you ask the question, how do you get people to allow you to tell stories? Listening is your first skill. Allowing them to talk to you, being curious, actually caring what they're saying, not listening so that you can find the gap so you can speak, is really important.
Tell me 3 other ways to absolutely kill a conversation. Tell me how you can actually get your business card in the garbage. 3 sentences.
I have a product. Do you want to buy something? A lot of do not do's. Get rid of your desperation. Come in from a place of curiosity. Listen. Don't try to shove your business card in their hand or, into their face. And who do you know? But being genuine, authentic.
Kind of really cool about this conversation that we're having about delivering a story. Really handy. It's how to have a chat with somebody. You're in a relaxed pace, good communication. You're responding to the cues that you're getting from the other party, etc. But when you shift over to a highly competitive market, you think of the financial market, think of the real estate market, automotive retail, right? Or even a burger joint, right? How do you make your story stand out when there's so many? Like, the forest from the trees or the trees from the forest.
What context are we telling this story in? You said in a crowded marketplace. Is this having one-to-one conversations at a networking event? Is this getting on stage and telling your story in a room full of potential clients? Where is this storytelling taking place so that I can more clearly direct my response?
Absolutely. So usually when you have, and again, we'll focus on the automotive market, you can have the one conversation, or you're looking for a car, and then you're going to go to different dealerships. In which case you're having that one-to-one conversation. Sometimes you're having that one-to-many communication path, right? Which is kind of your icebreaker or your lead in. Why should I care about your product, or what makes your product resonate more with me? Even though if I sell Chevys over here and I sell Chevys over there, what's the discernment other than maybe distance to travel to get there, availability and pricing, right? Sometimes we buy it emotively. What makes that connection? When I'm going to deliver a story to somebody, especially if they're not in front of me, but I have a story to tell, which is the draw to have them come visit me, validate what they see.
I always bring it back to community and collaboration. One Chevy dealer to another, if they're 10 miles apart and they have the same product and deliverable, the only difference is who's getting the commission. I'd want to know as a buyer, what does that commission go to? Is the owner a crotchety old man who sits on his pile of money like Scrooge McDuck? Or is the owner somebody who sponsors the Little League, who shows up at community events and ribbon cuttings? With the absence of true heart and personality and purpose, everything's a commodity. Your financial plan is a commodity. Your real estate investment portfolio becomes a commodity unless you know why you're doing it. So the storytelling around, we sell cars, anybody can sell cars, but we sell cars because it provides us a way to be able to ingratiate ourselves and invest in and uplift our community, where we support the children or the local business initiatives. We want to make sure mom and pop stores get what they need. Do you think those mom and pop stores might be telling people you should go to Macy's car dealership instead of Robert's car dealership because they matter to us? Like that community spirit and the who you're investing in, money and revenue is just a flow. So if you understand what that flow is going towards, you're now outside of the commoditization of the marketplace. Now you have meaning and purpose.
I find hugely important is we've had people come on and they tell us how they're brilliant brand developers and you should listen to them, and they have lousy brands. I want to hear about the consultress. Whether it started accidentally and you have whether you were doodling, you built a brand. You just own me right from the app. Tell me a story.
I already told you this story. Wayne, I remember you asking me this question, and that's why I talked about my bumps in the road, in my rocky road. I had this kumbaya personal transformation brand that I was going to help you manage your inner compass 26. The people that I was attracting wanted me to save them. I was like, oh, I want to do transformation, but I want to empower people. I don't want to rescue people. So maybe we changed the brand. So I moved all the way to the other side, the other goalpost, and then it was kick ass and business. No fluff, no muss. And then I got a bunch of people who just wanted me to beat them over the head with mallet. Change me, I'm ready. And I'm like, oh my God, is my whole business one side or the other? Is there no one in the middle? I want to kick a field goal. I don't want to bang my head against the posts. So what I realized was these were the two essences that my business encapsulated. It wasn't either one of them by themselves. So the consultress was born out of that love and heart for people that need that hug and need that support. And also people who are needing the tactical advantages and the here, do this, and knock that other stuff off. So I recognize both of these patterns because I was both of these types of people in one person. I realized that people needed transformation through the grand pursuit of business because we're out here providing value, but sometimes they needed a hug or a kick in the butt, and that could deliver both. So the consultress as a brand was born because people needed a reason to go, what is that? Tell me more about that. And now I have people just on a name asking, do I really want my husband to hire you? So there's this mystique that comes along with it, but it's based in fun and impish exploration. You can't have transformation if you're not willing to go deep and go to the meeting, but also have fun. It captures fun, seriousness, compassion, as well as tactical prowess. So that's what the Consultress is built of.
Wow, I'm just picturing the two ends of the spectrum, either hugs or smacks. You found middle ground, which is really nice. To do that, how do you get a person to realize that your storytelling, their story, their connections are actually having a yield? What do you look for in that? What do you measure? Whether you call it KPIs or just gut feel, what are you looking for?
Oh, God, how long do we have? So these are
We have until 2025, December 31. No.
pillar metrics, measure what's meaningful. Often we are trained to measure, the KPIs. We're trained to measure our P&Ls and our balance sheets and conversions versus leads. Those are all very important numbers. What I think you're asking is, how do I measure this interpersonal, this community-based, this storytelling essence? And it really is a more intuitive metric. And this shows up for different businesses in different ways. For me, the way this shows up is I had a mentor over a decade ago. She gave me what's called a networking scorecard, a way to deposit into all of these relationships and make it a game. That really spoke to me because it pulled on that fun pillar of what I'm about. As long as I'm thinking of people and sending goodwill out there, I'm creating the momentum for people to invest back in me. So it is not a quid pro quo metric. It's not, I invested in 100 people and then I got X amount of deals. It really is more about measuring my momentum against myself from last week. Last week, I did 0. This week, I sent 4 how are you doing text messages, and I sent thank you cards to people who had thought of me in weird ways, or they'd invited me to a digital summit or what have you. And I start to track the giving. The more I give, the more I feel like I want to give, and the more I can quantify that I am in motion. That networking scorecard for me changed the game. It allowed me to see investing in my network not as a numbers game of how I have to get to 300 people, but a call and a 30-minute how are you session when someone's going through something rough is got a different weight and point value than sending that text message. So it gave me a way to quantify things with different weight. How do people measure their interpersonal and their community? Well, you can see yourself making decisions better. This is another metric I call the decision matrix, where I help people take this very important thing that they're looking to make a decision and take some action on. And I help them quantify the worst case scenario and how likely that scenario is to come through. And also the best case scenario and how committed to that outcome they are, so that they can take it out of the abstract and assign number values to these things, and then have a fear factor versus a possibility quotient to be able to say, oh, my fear is way heavier than I thought, and the possibility is lower than that. So it gives them a tangible way to quantify unquantifiable feelings. So there's a lot of ways to go about measuring what's meaningful. These are just a couple of examples: the networking scorecard and the decision matrix.
Alissa, you have a podcast. Tell us a story.
Most of what we're up to in today's day and age is based on the industrial age hustle and grind mentality. I call BS on said culture and mentality. I think fun and connection are the name of the game. I'm a product of that message, and I bring that message forward. Podcast Rise Above the Grind. We have talented entrepreneurs talking about how they define grind, how they define that point where the doing and the rat race and the hamster wheeling just gotta quit, what that looked like for them, how they came through it, and also how they empower other people because of that transformation, really helping them line themselves up with that rocky road and how they came through it so that they can empower and be an inspiration to other people. And that airs every single week on my YouTube channel, youtube.com/@Consultress.
And if we wanted to know more about developing our brand and we felt it resonated with you, how do we get a hold of you, Alissa?
Oh man, LinkedIn is the best place to find me. Send me a direct message and a connection request. I'm happy to have a conversation and provide free clarity calls for anybody looking to take this work to the next level. It's a complimentary consultation that I have with people just to workshop, where are you today in this 6 pillars of simple, and how can we simplify your approach? So LinkedIn, just send me a DM, look up the consultress.
I want to say thank you, Alyssa. I really appreciate this conversation and getting that authentic story out, which is really important. And Wayne Pratt, your time and you, the Knack for Business listeners. At the end of the day, this story is for you. Alyssa started this journey of realizing that facts and figures just don't build loyalty. Her business has transformed itself. She now shares those experiences with you. If you want to transform your business and share your story and turn it into a client magnet, reach out to Alyssa. She'll take you in the next step.
To reach the podcast hosts, email them at info@creativeinsight.com or by the website creativeinsight.com, spelled KREATIVINSIGHT.com. To reach Wayne at his email, wayne@motive8u.ca, that is MOTIVE, the numeral 8 and the letter u.ca, or his website, motive8u.ca. If you would like to be a guest on this podcast and share your knowledge, let us know. We would also appreciate your feedback on the content or format. Check the show notes for more details. For these podcasts, we like to acknowledge the support and thanks to the following people: Carl Richards from Podcast Solutions Made Simple, a renowned podcast expert; Fred Crouch, who is the Property Wizard podcaster, where Bernie is a co-host; Jovan Strika from At Hive, a co-working space that is more than just a space; then Melanie Weber, Bernie's invaluable business partner; and Wayne Pratt from Motivate You Inc., who serves as both a coach and co-host of these podcasts. Disclaimer: please note that the Knack for Business podcast episodes are meant solely for educational and general informational purposes. The information and opinions contained within are not intended to be professional advice on any subject matter. The thoughts, views, and opinions expressed by the participants are their own personal beliefs and do not represent the views of the podcast hosts or any affiliated organizations. It is important to note that this podcast is not a replacement for consulting with certified experts in your area who possess knowledge of your unique situation. The hosts of the podcast, along with any participants or affiliated groups, do not take responsibility for any actions taken or not taken based on the information presented in this episode. It is highly recommended that individuals seek guidance from their own personal advisors in fields such as accounting, law, or other pertinent areas prior to undertaking any actions or making decisions that may impact their financial, legal, or other aspects of life.